The world remembers Judy Garland as Dorothy, the girl who found her way home. Her own daughter almost didn't make it off a stage in London, collapsing mid-concert with a tumor growing in her brain. That daughter was one of 3 children Judy Garland left behind, each one carrying her voice, her talent, and her pain forward in a completely different direction. And only decades later would the world understand what that inheritance really cost them. Judy was born Frances Ethel Gum in 1922, and by the time she played Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz in 1939, she was already one of the most controlled and overworked child stars in Hollywood history, kept thin and awake on studio-issued pills before she was even out of her teens. She married 5 times and had 3 children along the way. Liza, born in 1946 with director Vincente Minnelli, and Lorna and Joey, born in 1952 and 1955 with producer Sydney Luft. That daughter from the London stage was Lorna. She built a career of her own on Broadway and later wrote candidly about her mother in a memoir that became a television movie. But her own body turned against her twice. In 2013, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and underwent treatment. Years later came that night in London, the backstage collapse, and the diagnosis of a brain tumor. She fought through both and kept performing. Liza was the one who grew up most visibly in her mother's shadow, performing alongside her on television as a child. She would go on to become one of only a handful of performers in history to win an Emmy, a Grammy, an Oscar, and a Tony for her unforgettable role in Cabaret. But fame came paired with a familiar family struggle. Liza spent years publicly battling addiction, checking into treatment more than once, living out in front of cameras the same private war her mother had fought behind closed doors. Joey, the youngest, and by far the most private, stepped away from the spotlight almost entirely, studying photography and sound and choosing to work behind the camera rather than in front of it. For decades, he said almost nothing publicly. Then, in 2014, he finally stepped on stage himself, performing a one-man tribute concert dedicated entirely to the mother the world only ever seemed to remember for her tragedies. That same year, all 3 siblings stood together at the Academy Awards for a 75th anniversary tribute to The Wizard of Oz, the film that started everything and nearly cost their mother everything too. Judy Garland died in 1969 at just 47. Her children spent the decades since proving that her legacy was never only about heartbreak. It was also about talent, resilience, and 3 very different ways of carrying a mother's voice forward.